Meg-2 Sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, blast it, swing it, bash it. Meg-2 Sabers.
Greetings, Saber fans. Your old pal Meg2 Sith. Hey, Max, I see you on there. And, tonight we're going to do a little bit of weathering over here on the bench. Not a lot, but maybe enough just to give y'all some exposure to how I weather sabers. And, we had my Phoenix Props Star Killer that I weathered up and showed a bunch of pictures of it on YouTube. You can see some of the copper patina on there and some of the rust. But before we get on to that, I just want to say so. A couple weeks ago, we had to rush Ella to the hospital, and she's been having some health problems. And you know, through some of the testing, they found she had a pretty substantial tumor inside of her. And week before last, we got a consultation with an oncologist, and last week she had a surgery. And the good news that I wanted to share with everybody for my viewers is that, she came out of the surgery shining. They got the tumor out of her, and it was benign, but it was humongous. It was causing a lot of health problems with her. So, Ella's back home, and, she's recovering from her surgery. But thank you, everybody, for your prayers on that. And, with that, I just wanted to let you all know thank you very much for your prayers. It's been a tough couple of weeks. Anyway, let's get back into it tonight. I do want to, because that's awesome news. So we're all pretty excited that she's home, and the prognosis is much better than we thought a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I was not very happy around here when we found all this out. But I did the weathering on this saber, including the heat bluing on the emitter, which is the cool part about the Phoenix props. 7-chamber Star Killer is that you have that capability. I told y'all I thought I was going to do some sub blades, and I thought I showed you last week where I did add some sub blades, but I changed them up, and I think I improved them. And I just kind of wanted to show those sub blades off so y'all can see them. And I have different styles going there.
Vader's assassin. It's just bad these days. It's just bad these days. It's just bad these days.
Well,
Vader's assassin. Vader's assassin.
there we go. Sorry, when you're pointing it down, it keeps going to the previous preset. I've got the ends on white, and I've got that one cycling. This is the flame. Now I've got the whites blinking, and then it's going center out on the end one.
It's just bad these days.
This is of course the whites are on pulse, and the blue is on increasing, bar there. That's pretty cool.
Are you a Jedi? I am.
Now on the ends, I've got reds blinking, and then you've got this green, growing bar here going. That's pretty cool.
I suggest you try it again, Luke.
This is a light blue Cylon with the whites pulsing. Same thing there. Now this is crazy. All these flash to all different colors, and then you have a purple bar growing and receding there, but all the different colors are letting you know, hey, you're in a rainbow blade here. Same here.
I suggest you try it again, Luke.
And I believe this is like a Christmas blade.
Next time, let go your conscious self. It's just bad these days. It's just bad.
Vader's assassin.
There we go. And now we're back on font 1. So those are all the subblades on that. They're pretty cool. Hey Chet Osborne, great to see you. Just let Chet and other people know, because I think Max was the only one in here earlier, is that Ella surgery went very well and she does not have cancer. And thank you all for your prayers. It's been a stressful couple weeks here for us in the household. Well, that being said, let's get over here on the bench. We're working on some KRORssguards, and that's the KR Sabers and 1 replicas. And this crossguard, which I think has pretty much been taken over by Corbant. I think Corbant took the design and made some changes, but basically this hilt is the same as Corbant's new Gen 3 crossguard. So let's get over here on the bench and let's work on this crossguard. So I'm going to put you guys on screen share really quick, and we're going to kind of look at some weathering pictures of what we're getting ready to do while I'm moving you guys. So we're going to move you guys over here. Let me get all my wires untangled. And, we'll see what we're looking at here. And let me see if we need to adjust this camera some. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to bring you guys back in. Stand by, I'm getting ready to bring you guys back on in. Blam. And, I'm going to adjust that a little bit for us so you guys can see that a little bit better. So what we're working on here is some weathering. I appreciate it, Chet. We're working on some weathering, and, I've already done some weathering on the other side. So on the other side, you can see there's some highlights and some metal showing and some wear and tear. And on this side of the hilt, it's pretty much all black, except for right here. I've already done a little bit of weathering there. But I'm doing this weathering with my Dremel. And I'm using a very, very light sanding drum. I'm using, I think, a 120 grit sanding drum here. So, I'm going to show you what I do here. So I've got my Dremel on low, and basically what I do is I come in here and, anywhere where I think that, it needs to be exposed, I go ahead and I'm exposing some metal. This is step 1. We're going to do more. I know everybody cringes because, these hilts aren't cheap. And they aren't cheap, y'all are right. But basically, we want this to look good and worn. And I'm going to come here and this is just the beginning because I am going to be painting here too. So you're trying to highlight all the edges, any edges that can get worn. And we're going to be painting here. I've got this brass paint. This brass paint that we're going to use here is going to be pretty awesome. Now, the wire is the red wire is gonna come like this. And if you'll notice in these pictures, there's this gouge here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here and we're basically creating that spot. And we were going to be painting this when we're done here, but there's that spot. We've done this. Now I'm going to give these quillions some highlights and some wear and tear. And basically, this just makes it look like, you know, the Saber's been through hell. It's been dropped, it's been used, it's been in battles. You know, it's worn, it's used. That's the cool part about weathering is it's really your interpretation of the prop. And you know, on the Kylo Ren hilt, if you make some mistakes, I don't think it's that big of a deal because you know in the TFA prop, you know there was quite a bit of damage on it. You know, it had been painted, and obviously the paint had been damaged. But you know, you can see what a difference that makes. And now I also painted this the saber clip brass, and now we're going to start exposing some of this brass, like the saber clip's been used. And you can see that's starting to look like the pictures down here, which is what we want. They're trying to make it look worn. And you can see that's looking relatively similar. So that's kind of the opening processes. Now look, then these get worn because they're going in and out of the belt where this belt clip goes. So I'm going to wear down the ends of these real good. I'm just going to do a little bit more here, and then we'll clean up, you know, the hilt a little bit, and then I think we'll do some painting. Those are worn pretty good. You know, we've got edges exposed on those. It's crazy taking the hilt that's this expensive and doing this to it, you know, and you know, the finish on this was obviously really nice, but the fact of the matter is to make this thing look like, you know, TFA, we've got to do some significant weathering on it because the TFA prop was dirty. It was dirty and it was worn, and you know it wasn't pretty. And you know you can't have this thing looking pretty because that wasn't how it is. And I'm building TFA. Both of these are TFA. So I'm doing some real minor scuffling there. And then we're going to do some painting. So I know tonight may not be uber exciting, but something different. Show you all, you know, don't be afraid to do this stuff. Um, you know, this is like meatball surgery for me. To me, TFA weathering is meatball surgery. You want it to look good and worn. You want to definitely take down the edges. You know, you're gonna have little misses like that. That's all right. We're looking pretty good there. You know, that's about how I want it to look. I want to look at our reference paintings, and I'm going to turn this off because I know it's interfering with you guys seeing me. But I want to look at our reference paintings, and you know, we've got some pretty initial, you know, damage going on here that looks pretty decent. And you see, it looks a lot a lot different than it did the first time. Now, I did try to weather this with chemicals, with acetone, and the acetone didn't cut the powder coating or whatever it was that they used on this hill. So, that made things more difficult. So I knew I was going to have to, mechanically, do some wear and tear on the hill. Now, if you can see, the weathering here looks, more brassy. And, I have some brass paint here. And we're going to actually use some brassy looking paint. And I also weathered one of these. I'll show you one of these clips, but we're not gonna be on here all night long weathering the Saber, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys, some of my. So I use Testors model paint, and this particular model paint is flat brass, and I love this stuff. It's really good. You can see we don't have many viewers because a lot of people are like, man, that weathering is not very exciting stuff, but whatever. Figured I'll have this on here, and for those that want to see it, it'll be out there. And I'm going to come in here and do some painting to give that weathering some multi-dimension with this flat brass. Now this flat brass will actually dry flat. It won't be glossy. And of course I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do all this. And you can dry brush these edges, but there's a reason that I Dremel these edges. If the paint wears off, at least the edges are still Dremeled and there'll be metal underneath. So as the paint wears off, you'll have some additional actual natural weathering that occurs. And I'm going to take my paper towel and get some of the thicker of this off, because usually I would dry brush this, and dry brushing is like putting some paint on your brush, and then you get barely enough paint to dry brush your damage on. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to come in here and get rid of a lot of that excess there. Because I had too much paint on my brush right there. I'm actually going to come in there with some thinner. Yeah, I mean, this isn't very exciting, but this is definitely a part of saber building that, I don't know, a lot of people haven't seen me do on my channel. I mean, you see some of my hilts are weathered, but, not a lot of people get to see what I do to weather them. And, here you go. So then, I hit some of that, and I want to get that flat brass back in there. And then I want to get this edge painted up here. And I'm dry brushing now, so I'm taking a lot of the paint off of this. But here, this is some pretty major stuff going on up here. I think I'm going to dry brush a lot of this, a lot of these edges. But, shaving it down to aluminum gives you some multi-dimension, And on TFA prop, I know less is more. A lot of people are like, less is more. And I'm kind of like, no, more is more, because, if you don't do enough wear and tear on the hilt, you're not going to see all that glorious damage, and the damage should stand out. I mean, this was a pretty ugly hilt. It had been painted and obviously battle damaged, but you can see what we're doing there. Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is finding the right paints. And, you know, this flat brass paint by Testers is really cool. You know, it's really made for plastic models. And, but I think it works really good on the lightsabers. Now, the thing about it is you really need to, I'm hoping you guys can see, you guys can't even see what I'm doing. I'm hoping that, you know, I'm going to seal all this with a matte clear coat. And, you know, I'll seal in the weathering with the matte clear coat. And let's see here. And I'm dry brushing now. Dry brushing these edges. I have to go in there. And when you add this weathering, it also brings out some of the multi-dimensional aspects of the hilt from afar, I think. You know, I think people that don't weather their hilts, you know, I don't think they're getting the full effect, at least on the Kylo hilts. I mean, the Kylo hilt should have some substantial weathering on them. I'm blotting there where I think I had too much paint. You know, and you can always go back and adjust. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to, yeah, weathering armor is fun too, Max. I mean, you know, my Kylo Ren build, I did a lot of weathering on the helmet and the, you know, the leather, everything. You know, everything got weathering. And you know, my ESB Darth Vader, there's a lot of weathering on the chest box and the helmet and the armor. Um, you know, whereas Return of the Jedi is more like, you know, more like a new prop. You know, and you don't want everything to be so uniform. You know, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, happy little mistakes, happy little trees. You know, everything's happening. And if I see an area where I don't like something that's happened, then I'll blot it out, like right there. I don't like that. So I'm going to blot it out a little bit with some thinner. Just like that. And, you know, I'm going to work my way around the saber. I'm doing some stuff up toward the front right now. But then, you know, on the back here on the saber clip, you know, some of this damage here. You know, when this thing gets built, when I build this out, it's going to be awesome, you know. All this weathering and the dimensionality that this weathering is adding, and you know, once you add like the, you know, the engines and the saber clips and the things that, you know, make the hilt really pop, you know, by the time you get all that added, this thing's really gonna take on a life of its own. You know, So I'm just adding this layer of flat brass onto that area where we've dremeled, you know, like as if the hilt has some brass underneath there that's gotten exposed from normal wear and tear. I know this is about as exciting as watching cars rust, you know. I know we won't have as many viewers as we normally do when we're, doing this kind of stuff, but this is a part of saber building too. And, there's a lot of artistic interpretation. I'm looking at reference photos and I'm trying to, closely match the reference photo of the screen use prop here. But, it's, it's not going to be perfect. And, some people may want perfection with the screen use prop. In me, I'm up for close enough. It's good enough. And that's what I'm after. I'm not after perfect, because not many things in life are perfect. Not many things in life are perfect. And the cool part about this is I can knock some of this down with sandpaper too. So you don't have to be, uber worried about everything being perfect, because we can adjust it with sandpaper. And often I do adjust my weathering with, 2000 grit sandpaper and try to thin it out a little bit. Yeah, I know the sound's really low, Max. It's this stupid mic. So hopefully after Christmas I can get a new mic. Because the problem with the mic is it's on the computer and I'm like away from the computer where I'm doing this weathering. I'm trying to stay closer to the saber and away from y'all, and then I can't be heard when I'm doing that. But yeah, I know the sound is low. I need a new mic. So I used to record, before my computer died, I recorded, off my phone camera, and that actually has a better mic on it. But for whatever reason, when I got this new computer, it does not like this phone camera that I use, or the program that I use to run it, Ivy Cam, and my audio is not good. Yeah, the reason, because I'm trying to talk into the computer, that's why it's a little bit better. But it's definitely a known issue, Max, since I got this new computer, is it does not like my Ivy Cam mic. So, I'm doing the best I can with it. But at any rate, I'm trying to dry brush those edges. And, I know I'm not talking a lot here. I'm trying to kind of concentrate on what I'm doing here. These edge lines around the grips are pretty tough. And do the edge lines on these back fins. I'll leave some of it silver, but that way it'll give it like a multi-dimensional thing. If you leave some of it silver. there. It's looking a lot better. So now we got to come here and do some of this top side. Yeah, I'm gonna get a lavalier clip microphone. Um, I just haven't had a chance to do it, Max, with everything that was going on with Ella. And we're not gonna have much of a Christmas this year because our lives were pretty much turned upside down by everything that happened with Ella. And as far as getting a new microphone, it just wasn't in the cards with all the medical expenses and everything else we had. And plus, I had a bunch of stuff happen there at the end of the last year with, Sabers, where I wanted these Sabers to be done, and I wanted this one to be sold before Christmas, is to help me with Christmas. I have all this money tied up in Saber inventory, and because of other things that were going on, I couldn't get to these Sabers, and it kind of was frustrating because this was my plan to have Christmas, but it didn't work out. Everybody wants their stuff done right now, and when everybody was wanting their stuff done right now, it kind of put a kink in my plans about Sabers that I wanted to build and get done, and that definitely made for it. It didn't jive with my Christmas plans, that's for sure. I had other stuff in mind. Trying to get y'all in focus here so you guys can see what I'm doing. By the way, I already heat treated these emitters too. So I'm trying to give this multi-dimension here with some silver and some gold. A little bit of both here in these dimensions. And when I say gold, I'm talking about this flat brass. When it dries, it's not going to be shiny. It's flat brass. And I'm probably going to knock a lot of this flat brass down. Once it dries. Oh yeah, that's the thing, Chet and Max, is me and Jen and Ella. Well, I mean, especially Jen and me. We're so relieved when we got the news about Ella that the tumor was benign. Um, that was our Christmas present. Y'all are exactly right on that. That's all the Christmas we needed. And I was just kind of talking about what my plans were, and my plans went to hell in a handbasket. Um, I had some Sabers that came in right before Christmas, which I really hadn't intended, and it got me behind. See, now it's hard to handle it because every edge has paint on it. Every little surface has paint on it. But yeah, I mean, for sure, uh, with how that surgery went with Ella, that was all we needed for Christmas for sure. But I knew we weren't going to have a lot of viewers tonight because this isn't very exciting stuff. But I'll knock down a lot of this weathering with sandpaper. We'll knock it down quite a bit, and it'll be good. I'm just trying to bring out the edges on some of that interior stuff like that. It really brings out the edges to put some wear on them. You can really makes the fine details pop quite a bit when you can outline the edges a little bit. Other than that, it just kind of all blends together, especially on this black hilt. But when you can do some of that weathering there on the edges like that, it makes it really stand out. quite a bit. And, you know, pretty happy with the way that's looking. You know, I'm pretty happy with that. You know, plus you got the heat stained emitters. You know, that's awesome. I know that's not coming out with my lighting, but those are definitely heat blued emitters, and that's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna set the hilt aside for right now, and you know, I don't want to get too much paint on there. And there's one little spot there I'm gonna touch up. And of course I'm gonna go and I'm gonna, you know, lighten some of that up with some sanding later. But right now, let's go ahead and clean out this brush. And we're going to bring in these engines, and we're going to weather these engines a little bit too. So this is the engine that goes under the scar on the front of the Saber, and I'm going to weather this thing. And this is the engine that goes in the back of the Saber, you know, in the open, exposed part of the hilt. So, you know, we're going to weather both of these, and we're going to be rocking and rolling on that here shortly. So I'll show you what I'm going to do there, you know, as we're getting those ready to go. Is I got to bring in the black paint. So I got flat black paint. And this is going to be cool because we're going to be weathering with a paper towel. So basically what I do is I get the paper towel out and, you know, I'll put, you know, a little bit of paint down here. This is flat black. So, you know, when it dries, it'll be, you know, not glossy. This is flat. And I'm going to take some of that flat black on the paper towel and we're going to just dab. You know, and this put some weathering, you know, in surface areas. And really the area that's going to be seen on this is right here. This is what's going to be seen. This little section that I'm working on right here. Everything else isn't even seen, so, you know, there's no sense in working a whole lot on the rest of that because it's just not seen. This is plastic. I have not seen the new mace, but you know, here's like the other one that I painted, you know, and here's the one we're weathering up a little bit. You know, some cosplayers like using black shoe polish for this too. Now look, I'm also gonna take this brush and I'm gonna, you know, dry brush some of it away, and I'm gonna get down in the nooks and crannies there where I couldn't, you know, really get with a paper towel. And you know, I'm going to try to hit some of these nooks and crannies around where I know, you know, we're going to have some exposure here. And that's the exposed part of the engine right here. And, you know, we're doing pretty good. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and, you know, I'm going to dab off, you know, those pieces. I don't want too much weathering. And there you can see, you know, looking kind of grungy. Now in the Saber prop, I'm going to get some. I have seen a couple of the Corbanth maces. Are you talking about the Corbanth mace, Max? The new Corbanth mace window? Because I have seen that. And this brush has a spare. All right, so now to add some other dimension, you know, this one has a little bit of exposed brass on it here on this part of the engine. And then I'm also going to do some edges here. you know, kind of like we did on the hilt. We're going to expose some of these edges of this machinery ever so slightly. And some of this will be, you know, visible. You know, basically what's visible through the peak hole is right here. This is what's visible. So, you know, I'm just trying to do some highlights around what's visible on that engine. And definitely add some dimension, you know, to the engine. That's going to be kind of cool looking. Now, we need to do some black paint on the inner engine now. We're going to weather this inner engine some. And this is cool because, you know, once I get this weathering finalized on this hilt, you know, then I can start, you know, I can put the clear coat on there, and then I can start the process of, you know, installing it, getting ready for install. All right, so we're taking our black paint on the towel, and we're trying to cram it, you know, down in there. Now this is visible in 360 degrees as you rotate the saber, you know, so we want, you know, we want this inner engine to have some pretty decent stuff on it. And get some more black paint out, flat black paint. I need to go to the hobby store and buy some more flat black paint. I always go through a lot of flat black paint. You know, you can see we're looking a lot better there. And then, you know, now that that's kind of weathered, I want to bring in some more flat brass. So I'm going to wipe off my brush and get some thinner. And clean off my brush. And then we're going to take some of this flat brass paint and we're going to get down in here into some of these nooks and crannies that need it, like down in there, maybe along these edges. Maybe along that edge. Just trying to add a little bit more dimension onto these pieces. I mean, these are all going to be, you know, inside the hilt, and you know you'll see them, but you know they're not a major eye draw. But it's important that they look like, you know, machinery. The engines inside the hilt, and that they're, you know, worn and weathered and kind of, you know, been through battles and they're crappy. All that's important, you know, to making something look fairly authentic, making something look like it's from the movies. You know, it's got to be authentic. So there, you know, now we're getting to the point where we're kind of dry brushing this, and you can see, you know, that's looking pretty authentic. Trying to dry brush some of that gold paint off of there. That flat brass. I really am happy with that. I think that looks really good right there. I don't know how that's going to come out on the video, but I'm pretty happy with that. So that's the back engine on the Saber. And, once this paint dries, then I'll install this and I'll be able to, to do a final coat on the Saber. Now, another thing is like this Saber, it has these pieces here, these greeblies, and I have weathered one of them already. I kind of want to show it here. This one. And let me get my black paint put away. And these greeblies that go on the Saber, I've weathered them a little bit, like the paint scuffed off of them, just like TFA should be. You can see here, and actually this one, I actually plan to be this one. This will go right next to the red wire. And I'm going to clean off my paintbrush. Grab some of this flat brass paint, and we're going to do some of this in flat brass paint. Dabbing it because I just want it to look kind of warm. So that's pretty cool. So that's basically some weathering on the Kylo Ren crossguard. And yes, I will knock some of this weathering down. I'm bringing it in and kind of show you some of this weathering on here. And we will knock some of this down with some 1500 grit sandpaper before we get going. Hey, Jen logged on. So that's the weathering, the initial weathering. Of course, I'll sand it down and dull it out a bit on our crossguard. And once we get these engines in and everything else on here, it's going to really, really start looking like an awesome crossguard, like the screen use prop. And the more stuff we add to this, the better it gets, and you can imagine, how good it's going to look on the inside. It's going to look cool. Hey, Cole. So that's the preliminary weathering. So Cole, this Saber that I'm weathering tonight is actually one that arrived here to me via you. And this is actually going to be my trooping Saber. The one that I'm working on right now is actually my trooping Saber. There's some Cole history behind this thing. But yeah, I'm finally getting them built, Cole. I wanted to get them built before Christmas, but that didn't happen. With all the stuff going on with Ella. And by the way, Cole, you missed it earlier, but everything went well with Ella. And, thank you all for your prayers. Everything went very well, and Ella is at home recovering. But at any rate, I know weathering Sabers is well, it's cool. I mean, getting the troop as Kylo is pretty cool. And, I'm still using my Black Series Teensy Saber Kylo Ren hilt, which is still awesome, but it's just not as awesome as these KROR crossguards. And, that was the tough part for me when Cal did that run. Was I don't think Cal understood how in demand those sabers were. And as a 501st Legion Kylo Ren, I knew that we didn't have enough Kylo sabers for sure. There just weren't enough production Kylo sabers out there. That's why the Phoenix Props version 2 is so expensive, because they're expensive because there's just not enough of those hilts out there. There wasn't at the time he produced that hilt. And he could have done 1,000 of those, and it wouldn't have been enough to meet the demand. He could have done 5,000 or 6,000 of them, that wouldn't have met the demand. So, but I missed out on the run. I was trying to order one and didn't happen. And Cole got word of what happened to me and hooked me up. And I am forever grateful. And as I go to troop in the next few years, and you see pictures of me trooping, like the picture that's the cover for this video, Cole Weathers had a lot to do with that. And I'm sure that that'll bring a smile to a lot of children's faces, when they get to see Kylo Ren and this cool lightsaber, which we're, building tonight. I'll be pretty proud of this technological terror we're constructing here, but I don't want to take up too much of everybody else's time, but pretty much that gives you a solid about, some of the weathering of lightsabers that goes on, behind the scenes. And you guys can see, here was quite a bit of labor, to come up with what we did here tonight. And, between weathering the saber and weathering the engines, you give, I appreciate it, Cole. You're far too kind. And I will pay it forward. A lot of the troops we do, Cole, is for kids with cancer and things like that. Those are most of the troops that I like doing, are hospital troops for kids with cancer. And when you have a kid with cancer that requests to meet Kylo Ren, and I get to go and be Kylo Ren for that kid, you have a part in that. That's the main reason I joined the 501st Legion. I don't like Comic-Cons and all that crap. I like the troops for Make-A-Wish Foundation and for the specific request for kids with cancer. That's why I built my Kylo Ren costume. So I'm super grateful for that. And those kids will be too. So that's that's what we do, Cole. Bad guys doing good things. That's one of the 501st Legion's mottos. But at any rate, this is a part of saber building that I normally really don't air out that much. And I'm not a professional painter. I'm not a professional weatherer, and I still have to knock a lot of this down with sandpaper, and then I'm gonna put a mass a clear coat on here. And another thing to kind of like give you an example of what's coming is you have these greeblies, which they're gonna go on here like that. They're gonna change the look of the saber too once these greeblies go on. And I'll knock down some of the weathering. You've got multi-dimensional weathering going on there. Once you put these engines on, the red wire on, knock down that weathering a little bit, and do a matte clear coat on this thing, it's going to look like Kylo's saber. It's going to be awesome. And, I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. I know it was kind of boring, but, weathering sabers isn't very exciting. But it's something I really haven't done a video on. And, now we have. And I kind of want to go back. We'll do a screen share really quick. Stand by as we move y'all over to the workbench. You guys can have a look at that. And that's kind of where we're heading. Only not as glossy. That one's a little bit glossier than I would prefer. I don't like my Kylo Sabers glossy. I like my Kylo Sabers. That's what you're getting ready to see. It's fixing to be ugly. I like my Kylo Sabers a little bit less glossy than that. That's the back side, and then, see how that gloss is not good. But you can see some of the weathering we were doing in here tonight. And I went a little bit more extreme than you see in the pictures here, but I will be knocking some of that down with sandpaper before I clear coat. But I definitely wanted y'all to see that because it's pretty cool. So we're down to only 2 viewers, and hopefully more people will tune in and watch this thing later. But weathering, weathering is important. This is the Phoenix Prop Star Killer, and weathering is important to make this saber look like it does. This is probably, outside of the Darth Nihilus, this is the favorite saber that I've ever done weathering on. And this crossguard is really looking good too. So, I added fake rust, and this one has the heat blowing emitter, and aluminum black on this and patina on the copper, but I still have a shine and a luster on this hilt, where especially where you handle it. And if you look, you can see where I weathered the grips down, on the edges where you're actually hanging on to it. You can see where that's been weathered. You can also see where the saber clip has been weathered, and hopefully you can see some of that patina in the copper there. That's a lot of weathering work to make a saber look good. And this Star Killer looks good. And when I finish this cross guard over here, this thing's going to be awesome. When you look at it here in totality from a distance, you can see that while the extreme weathering under lighting looked extreme, as you look at the saber here in totality, it doesn't look quite as extreme. Remember you were looking at it in close-up view, um, but that is an example of why you should go more extreme than you think, because when you're looking at the saber from a distance, you're not seeing that weathering. And we do have to knock some of that weathering down, and I still have to do a matte clear coat on that so it's not glossy. And after that, we get ready for the install. So, the major weathering on that thing is done. I knock it down tonight, matte clear coat, do some final touch-ups on the weathering, and then we go to install on that saber. It's ready to install. And the install on that's pretty simple. Really not a lot to it outside of the fact that it's 3 lightsabers in one. And I'm super excited to get that lightsaber going. I don't even have a soundboard for it, y'all. I'm out of Profi boards. And I did win a Profi board on the ULC giveaway, but I got something to give away next year. I want to show y'all. What my intention is to pull a Cole Weathers, and next year on ULC, you saw my Star Wars pajamas. I want to give away this custom saber shop F16, which I'll show this saber for those that haven't seen it. The soundboard that I won, that Profi board that I won, my intentions are to install it in this hilt. This is the custom saber shop F16, and my intention is to install the Profi board that I won on the ULC giveaway into this saber, with a Smuggler's Outpost chassis. And then this saber, I will give this away in the giveaway. So that's my intentions. Universal Lightsaber, you just asked to join, Max. I thought you were a member. I thought you were a member of Universal Lightsaber community, Max. If you're not, you need to be. Basically, I think it's run pretty much mainly by Smuggler's Outpost. Robert Sotomayor is a big figure on there, for sure. But it's a place where everybody can come together, no matter where you get your lightsabers and what kind of lightsabers you have, and enjoy lightsabers. There's a lot less negativity and crap on there than some of the other groups, and they're pretty good at moderating it. So it's a pretty good group. If you're not on there, you might want to get on there. But yeah, Facebook group. Cole is Cole is super deserving of that. Cole won a nice saber, and that's super awesome for Cole. I'm so happy. Yeah, it's my favorite group too, Cole. I love it. That's why I want to get back. So that F16 hilt, the Profi board that I won, I feel bad for winning the Profi board, but I'm going to install that Profi board in this, and then this will be my next year contribution to the giveaway. That's another thing I wanted to do this year, is contribute to the giveaway, and I didn't even get a chance. But that Profi board's going to go into that saber, so I won it, and it's coming to me for free, but I'm going to send it right back as an installed saber, as a giveaway. So I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to pull a Cole Weathers. And that F16 should be a pretty cool saber. But at any rate, that is what I'm going to do for tonight. that's all of tonight's weathering, I think. And I'm gonna go to bed because I got to get up at 5:30 in the morning and take Risky for a walk. And then I got to do Santa Cop tomorrow morning with kids, needy children. That's what Jennifer and I are doing in the morning. But at any rate, from a sleeting Wilmington, North Carolina, which is unusual. Thank you all for joining in and watching the boring weathering video. And we'll see you guys next time. I don't think I'm going live next week, but maybe the week after. So it's probably going to be 2023. This is probably the last live stream of 2022. So deuces 2022, deuces, and until next time, thank you guys. May the force be with you, or the dark side, as it were.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, as usual. I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel. And as always,